Hello, good to vach, everyone. Wonderful to see everybody here. We can mute everybody. Let's go. Okay, we're sponsored by Shalom Fogli, Nishmas Yaakov Zeb ben Yudai, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas God, Resa ben Tzim ben Yaakov Zeb, Lefush Shleim for Mashai ben Miriam, for a great shidduch for Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We also want to learn for a great shidduch for Batya Bas Sarah, Vikar of Mamish, by Mark Frankel, Nishmas Ilana Chana Bas Yosef Avram, by Menachem Yemansky, that all those that are waiting for shidduch, including himself, should find it quickly and easily, by Ed Salul, Lefush Shleim for Yosef ben Miriam, and for healthy mommy, healthy baby, for Ariel Simcha, Bas Elza Rivka, and for all expectant mothers. We are holding on the bottom of Zion Amid Beis by V'Amar Reb Chanina, which is 5 lines from the bottom. 5 lines from the bottom of Daf Zion Amid Beis. V'Amar Reb Chanina, Ein Adam no Keif Etzba'o Milmata. A person doesn't stub their finger in this world, Elim Kein Machrizin Aleh Milmala, unless they announced it above. In other words, everything happens only if Hashem wants it to happen. Shenema me Hashem mitzadei gavar kanonu. From Hashem, a man's footsteps are established. V'adam hayavin darkein. Does man understand why things happen? Amar Rebbe Lazar, dam nikif, if somebody stubs their toe and they bleed, meratza kedam oila. It appeases, it atones like the blood of an oila. But it's not so simple that just having a bleeding toe. It's only Amar Rava begoidel yamin, when it's the big right toe, which is very painful, or benikif sheni, and it's the second time it gets bruised. So that's very uncomfortable, and it affords such a kapara when he's going to a dvar mitzvah. So Rashi says, but if he's going to a dvar mitzvah, shulchay mitzvah ein nizakin. So Rashi says, but at the time he was thinking about an aveira. So because of that, the mitzvah didn't protect him, and that's why he needed to stub his toe, because an oila is mechaper al hirura aveira. Amar al Pinchas ben Yair, getting back to Pinchas ben Yair, that Hashem caused that he shouldn't even go to eat by Rebbe, and he happened to go in through a door that had white mules. Says the Gemara, Amar Alav al Rab Pinchas ben Yair, miyamav lebatz al prutza she'ein shalai. He never broke bread on something that wasn't his. He believed in loyli day matnas basav adam, loyli day halva asam. And as soon as he became mature, even Misudas Aviv, he didn't even benefit from a meal of his fathers. And now we turn to Daf Ches Amid Aleph. We start learning Chulin. Start learning some Chulin discussions. Amar Rab Zeira Amar Shmuel Liben Sakin V'Shachat Ba. If, let's say, this is something that Marshall would do, he makes a knife white hot and he shechts it with it. Now the question is, what gets to the esophagus and the trachea first? If the heat gets there first, it's no good, because that's not a shchita, that's a sreifa. If the sharpness gets there first, so then it's a good shchita. So the Gemara says, they know the marshals of this world, shchitasa kasheira, the shchita is good. Why? Because chiduda kaidem lilibuna. The sharpness gets there before the heat. But says the Gemara, but there's a problem. We know that a perforation makes it a treifa. Now, along the way, as you're cutting, the side of the knife touches the wall and burns it. So it makes it a treifa before you finish the majority of the shechita. Well, ikad studin, there's the side that gets burnt. Says Gemara, no. The Metzias is, as you cut, the side curves away. It widens, so it doesn't touch the sides. Beis hashchita mirvach ravach. The Beis hashchita widens out, so it doesn't touch the side. So the question is, how did the Gemara know this? That the sharpness is before the heat. This is what is it? They experimented. They took a hot knife and they said, "Marshall, could we have your throat for a second?" I mean, how did they? Was wondering where Marshall was.
Help me out with this one.
Wondering where Marshall was the last. You're missing already like 4 days in a row. You were afraid that I would. You were afraid that I would take a knife to you.
I didn't know you'd really miss me.
So I miss you very much. That is the truth. At least you'll be able to say one person misses you. The mice is there's a fascinating Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says that he heard this pshat from his Rebbe, the Baal Haflah. And although the Haflah said it on Purim as Purim Torah, he treats it like pshat. The Gemara tells us that on Purim one year, come Rabba v'shachta l'Reb Zeir. Rabba got up and shechted Reb Zeir. Then he did Tchias HaMeisim and brought Reb Zeir back to life. So the Haflah said, but why would Rabba shecht Reb Zeir? Reb Zeir was a marshal. Why would Rabba shecht Reb Zeir? So the Gemara says it must be that he was learning this sugya, he was drunk, and he wanted to know whether the heat came first or the sharpness came first. So he shechted Reb Zeir with a hot knife, and then he was Mechaya Mesim, and Reb Zeir told him that the sharpness came before the heat. So that's the way the Haflah learns. It's a really, really remarkable Haflah. So anyway, we're really missing Marshall. We didn't have anybody to do these things. So now we're going to hit Marshall with a burning spud, a burning spit, a burning poker. So the question is, which comes first, the bang or the heat? Now you'll say, what's the difference? It's a difference, not Marshall, because we don't illustrate teras on people. So we'll say we hit chatzkel. We don't have a chatzkel in this year yet. We hit chatzkel with a burning poker. Now the din is that if a teras comes on a burn, that's called a mikveh. If a teras comes on a bang, so then it's called shchin. So here when we banged chatzkel with a red hot poker, or a white hot poker, that's why it's called liban, a white hot poker, so which comes first? It's an afkamina if it's going to be a shchin or a mikveh. Says the Gemara, let's see it inside. Ibaylu liban shpud, we made a white hot poker, vihikabai, and we hit chatzkel with it. Mishum shchin nidain or mishum mikveh nidain? Is it considered a shchin or is it considered a mikveh? It's two different tzaras. So the Gemara says, what's the difference? Who cares? The fact is that a shchin and a mikveh have the same halachas. If they don't grow, we only quarantine 1 week. By both, some we quarantine a second week, but by shchin and mikveh we only quarantine 1 week. And they're considered to have grown either with a white hair or with spreading. So what's the difference if it's a shchin or a mikveh? And that's what the Gemara asks. L'may nafkamina, what's the difference? The Kedusanya, shchin or mikveh, both shchin and mikveh, metamim b'shvua echad, they're metamim a person if it doesn't grow only for 1 week, and it is considered to have spread b'shnei simonim, with two signs, either b'sei or lavan, with a white hair, or b'pisyain, or with spreadage. So v'lama cholkin akasim. So why does the pasuk say halachas of shchin and halachas of mikveh? Loimer she'em mitzdarfen says to tell you, in order for it to be teras, it has to be the shear of a gris, the shear of a bean that 36 hairs could grow on. That's a shear of a gris, a split split beam. And if you have a half a gris of shchin and a half a gris of mikveh, they don't combine. B'tanya ezel shchin ve'ezel mikveh. What determines if something's a shchin or if something is a mikveh? Loka be'etz, if he was hit with a piece of wood, be'evan, or with a rock, be'gefes, with, this is peat, this is like olives, a pile of hot olives. B'chamei tveria, with the heat of tveria, or b'kol davar shaloi ba'mach masa'ar, or anything that's not heated by fire, la'asiyeh eiver me'ikrai, to include lead that comes from the mines. So that's not a told of eish. Zeu shchin, that's shchin. Ve'ezel mikveh, what's a burn? Mikveh begacheles, with coal, beremetz, with ash, besid, reisech, with hot lime, gipsis, reisech, this is a hot gypsum, which is a type of lime, or b'kol davar abamach masa'or, or anything else that comes from a fire, la'asiyeh chameyar, boiling water, zui mikveh. Now one other piece before we get to our heated poker, and that is if there's a shchin and a mikveh together, then the status is the last one. V'tanya, we learned in the Brisa, shchin u mikveh, im shchin kaidem lemikveh, if the bang came before the burn, so then it has the status of a burn. Batal mikveh es shchin. The mikveh cancels out the shchin. V'im mikveh kaidem es shchin, if the burn comes before the boil, then batal shchin es mikveh. Then the boil that comes from a bang, it cancels out the mikveh. So here is a simple case. Chatzkel has a chatzi gris of shchin. He has a half a gris shchin. Then right next to it, we bang him with a heated poker. V'liben shvud v'hikabay. We made the poker white hot and hit him with it. V'nafik beichatzi gris acher, and there's another gris. So now do we say chavota kodim? Do we say the bang is first, and then the burn cancels out the bang, because we go bust to the last one? V'asi havlo mavatale the chavota, so then it's a chatzi gris of shchin, and a chatzi gris of mikveh, and it doesn't combine. V'avalei shchin of mikveh, v'lei mitzdarfen, and it doesn't combine. Or Dilma, do we say havlo kodim? The heat comes first. V'asi chavota mavatale lahavla, and then the bang cancels out the heat, so then it's a shchin and a shchin next to each other. V'avalei shchin of shchin of mitzdaref. So which one is it? Does the heat come first, or does the bang come first? So the Gemara says, why don't we bring a raya from our case? When we did what Marshall did with the hot knife. If you make a white hot knife and you shech with it, shchitas kshera. Why? Because we say the sharpness comes before the heat. Chiduda kaidem lilibuna. Alma chavata kadem. Says, no, there it's different. Because there it was sharp, and sharpness comes before the heat. Here it's just a bang. Chidud shani, sharpness is different. So Tajma, liben shpud v'hikabay. If you heat up a poker and you hit with it, nidain mishemich v'zeish. So that's a raya that the bang came before the mikveh. We go bust to the last one. So alma chavota kadim. Says there also is talking about where you hit him with the front of the poker, which has a point, and there the sharpness. Hasim nami debarze mivras. You pierced him with the front of the poker. Dainu chidut. Sharpness, we said, comes first. We're not sure whether a blunt force comes first. That the Gemara does not give a conclusion for. It's interesting over here how Rashi. It goes into halacha over here, and no, here he doesn't go in. But anyway, Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Ravua, a new sugya. And I guess I should already welcome in all the terrific gentlemen. We have over here 32 terrific gentlemen here. Dr. Guy, A.B. Spry, good to have you, A.B. Yitzi Fuchs, Yaakov Warman, Ben Zion Cohen, Irving Fishbaum, Danny Vogel, Eddie Chazan, Marshall Castle, who was very missed, Nachman Chapler, Shelley Zeitlin, Dr. Block.
And very shafted, too.
Huh? Oh, well, you deserve it.
Shafted.
Yeah, and you deserve every bit of it. Michal, Dr. Eisenberg, Mark Frankel, Gedalia Engel, Naftali Jablin, Rebbe Kniel, Stephen Holtzman, Richard Rosenzweig, great to have you back, Richard, Abraham Zepkowitz, Gabriel Epstein, Dr. Tishauer, great to have you, Rebbe Elia Yaffe, not sure 718 is, Chaim Braun, Shimon Klein, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Schuttman, Abe Arbach, Yeshua Shmuel Eisenberg, and David Helfgott. Here in Shul we have Michael Avram and Reb Halpert and Reuven Shanit and the one and only Herschel Wallner. So now, the Gemara tells us as follows. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Baravua, Sakin shel avodas kechavim. Yeah, it's interesting. This could only happen to Marshall. He has a knife of avodah zarah. Can he shecht with a knife of avodah zarah? Now, a knife of avodah zarah is also bana. So how can he shecht with a knife of avodah zarah? But surprises us, when Marshall is around, there's always a surprise. Says the Gemara, mutter lishchaypa, he could shecht with a knife of avodah zarah, but v'asur lachtach babasar, but he can't cut pieces of meat with it. Mutter lishchaypa, he could shecht with it. You know why? Because that's not considered anah. Mikalkelhu. It's an act that's destructive. Why is it destructive? Because before Marshall shechted it, the animal could do three things. Marshall is very familiar with animals. It could do three things. It could plow, it could breed, and it could make a steak. Now when he shechts it, it could only make a steak. So that's considered kilkel. That's not hana because it's downgrading its usage. So therefore you could do it even with avodah zarah. However, v'asir lachtach babasar, he can't cut meat with it, because cutting meat with it is making it into, steak-sized stuff. That's misakenu. That's a benefit. Amar Rava adds an addendum. Pa'amim shashoichet aser. Sometimes it's forbidden to shecht with a sakin of avodah zarah because it is a hana, b'mesukenes, with a dying animal. Now, a dying animal is not fit for breeding. It's not fit for plowing, and if you don't shecht it right away, it's not going to be fit for eating either, because it'll be a nevela. So there, it's a benefit. You're not allowed to benefit from a knife of avodah zarah. Or machatech mutter, but you would be allowed to cut meat when you're cutting the meat is ruining it, where it's a piece of meat that was a size, a French roast, that you can get a lot of money for. And if you cut it up, you can't get money for it. So, ba'atme, where it's a big piece, the kaiman l'kurbana, which you could use as a gift, or you could sell in the store. So by cutting it, you're not doing a benefit. Says the Gemara, but I don't understand. If it's a knife of avodah zarah, then it has fat of non-kosher animals on it. So how could you use it anyway? It has the fat of Isser. So how could you use it anyway if it has on it how could you use it anyway if it has on it
the door? Somebody locked the door. I work away 10 minutes trying, it doesn't open the door. Can somebody open the door?
Which door?
To your show.
Somebody's coming. Says the Gemara, say that it's forbidden because it has fat of Isser on it. Says the Gemara, it's a new knife. Says the Gemara, wait a second, if it's a new knife, then why should it be Asr as avodah zarah? You see, there is a machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva. If you designate something as an idol, whether it's Asr as soon as you designate it, or only if you worship. But that's only by an idol itself. By an accessory of Avodah Zarah, everybody agrees that it's only also when you use it. So Bein Rabbi Shmuel, Bein Rabbi Kiva, Misham she'avodis kechav mein. Here it's only an accessory. Or Misham she'avodis kechav mein asur na'achi yavdu. It's only also when you worship it. So if it's new, why should it be asur? Says the Gemara, Iba Yisema, Marshall did use it for Avodah Zarah. But the pasuk by Gavzel of Avodas Kechav, he cut wood for Avodah Zarah, so there's no shamnunis. He used it for cutting wood. The Iba Yisema b'Shana, he did cut meat with it, but he kashed it. Libna ba'ar, that he, put it through like fire, and he kashed it. And the question is, are you allowed to use it? And we said that you're allowed to use it because it's mekalka. Now, new subject, and. It's good to see Elia Shutman joining us, Rabbi Kranz joining us, and here Saba is joining us. Saba, we're on Daf Ches Amid Beis, and Daf Ches Amid Beis, 5 lines from the top. Ches Amid Beis, 5 lines from the top. Ima, hashoichet b'sakin shel ovid kechav. If you shecht with a knife of a guy. So now you have a problem with, he used it for non-kosher stuff. So Rav Amar Koilef. Rav says the Beis HaShchita is hot, and therefore there's some absorption, so you have to peel away the area that you cut. V'Rabba Bar Chana Amar Madiach. All you have to do is rinse the area. So says the Gemara, Lema B'Hakam Ifligi. The Marsavar Beis HaShchita Tzayin. The Beis HaShchita is cold. Now, the Beis HaShchita is not cold. If you go to a shlachtais, you'll see that it's steaming. But it's not hot enough to be Yad Soledes that it should absorb. Well, Marsavar, no, Beis HaShchita is Reisech. It's burning hot, and therefore you have to peel it. Says in Loy. The Kuli Alma Beis HaShchita Reisech. Everybody holds it's boiling hot. Mandam Koilef that you have to peel it away sharper. Madiach, you know why it doesn't absorb? Because the 3-day simonim la'afukei dam, since they're so busy expelling blood, loy bolei, they don't absorb. Ikidam, right? The kulei alma beis hashchita tzayne. So manda amar madiach, that's enough to rinse it sharper. Mandi amar kailef, that you have to peel it because agav duchke desakina, because of the pressing of the knife. Bullet, sack and tray, bola. It absorbs more, and therefore, even though it's cold, you have to rinse it. What about if you use the sack and treifa, a knife that you cut a treifa with? So pligi bar, and now you want to reuse this knife after cutting an animal that was treifa. What do you have to do to this knife? Pligi bar Ravacha v'Ravina. It's a machlokes Ravacha and Ravina. Charama b'chamin. You have to purge it with boiling water. V'charama b'tzaynin, and one says it's enough cold water. V'hilchasa afilu b'tzaynin. It's enough to even rinse it with cold water. The ika blisa the parsa michbere, and if you have a rough piece of shmata that has like a rough texture, you could wipe with it. Like tzarich, you don't even need to rinse it. Says the Gemara, mandi amma b'chamin my timer. Says the Gemara, the one that says that you have to rinse it with hot. What's the reason? Says the Gemara, mishum de kabbalah isura. Because when you cut the treifa, it was boleya iser. So then we should have a problem even when you're using it to cut a kosher animal. The teira nami bola eva minachai. By the heter, it also absorbs eva minachai, because before you shech the majority of the siman, the animal is aser als eva minachai, and therefore it absorbed the iser of eva minachai. Says the Gemara, no. When is it absorbed? Only when it's hot. And when is it hot? only when you do the majority of the siman, then it starts steaming. After you do the majority of the siman, it's kosher already. It's not even menachai anymore. Emas bala l'chi chayma, when it gets hot. Emas kachayma, when does it get hot? L'chi gamer shchita, when you finish the majority of the siman. Hayishata eterav, at that time it's not even menachai anymore, so there was no absorption. Now, it's really nice to get together with everybody to start the week this way. This is the way to start the week. Still missing people. Wonder what happened to Yisrael Fisher. It's good to get Marshall back. I sent out the truancy officer. The first one he bumped off. Had to send a second one.
I had to brag with hot dogs. It was really tough.
Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. Hatabach tzarech shloisha sakin. The sheichet needs 3 knives. Achad shesheichet bo, one to shecht with. The achad shemechatech bo basar, and one to cut the meat with. The achad shemechatech bo chalavim, and one to get rid of the forbidden fats. Now, the reason why you can't cut the meat with the knife that you do the shechita with is because, remember, the shechita knife can't have any pegimos, can't have any nicks. And if you're going to start cutting meat with it, you're going to get nicks on it. But the Gemara says, why can't you cut the kosher meat and then afterwards traber the fat, the forbidden fat? Says the Gemara, make one for cutting the meat and one for cutting the fat. First cut the kosher meat, and then cut the forbidden fat. Says well, because we're afraid you might reverse it. You might cut the forbidden fat, and then afterwards the meat. So the Gemara says, well then hashtanami michlef, even if you use 2 knives, you might switch the 2 knives. Says the Gemara, Kavan datzuchinu tray, since he has 2 knives, islay akera. He's going to make a siman on it. One is kosher and one is chaylev. He needs 2 utensils of water. One that he rinses the kosher meat. One that he rinses the forbidden fat. Says the Gemara, make 1 basin and first rinse the meat, the kosher meat, and then rinse the forbidden fat. So we say again, you might switch it around. So the Gemara says, now also, even if you have 2, you might switch the basins around. Says the Gemara, since we necessitate you to have 2 basins, you'll mark 1 for basar and 1 for chaylev. Amar Ameimar, Mishmei Papa, this is very good advice to the butcher. Loy lichtschef inche kafle ilve bisra. Don't put a flank of fat on top of kosher meat. The dove tarba, because the fat will ooze, obala bisra, and it'll be absorbed in the meat. Says the Gemara, ihachi ki tritze nami, even when a piece of meat is sitting with a layer of fat on it, its own fat, why don't we say dove tarba obala bisra? Why don't we say that the fat will ooze into the meat? Says the Gemara, karma mifsik mitatoi. There's a membrane in between the meat and the fat that stops the fat from being absorbed in the meat. Says the Gemara, so if you turn the fat on top of meat too, the fat has a membrane on top of it too. Ihachi, says the Gemara, as we turn to Tes Amud Aleph, Ihachi meiloi nami karma ika. Above there's also a membrane, says Gemara, but the membrane above we handle with our hands and we break that membrane. since the butcher handles it, mefases, he breaks the membrane, and then it will ooze into the meat. Now, we're just going to pause a moment now and turn over the tape over here.